I think I did a quick survey, everybody in the audience. So we have 1 HP reseller, 2 SUSE partners, and everybody else is HP. So it's clearly just a family and friends session. Should go pretty quick. Just stop me anytime, obviously, should our 1 reseller friend have any questions. 1 more person come in. Welcome. We are just getting started. So this session is about SAP HANA. It's about the journey to SAP HANA, why people are taking it, and how together HP and SUSE makes that journey easy for customers. What are the typical paths? And we'll use a single customer's example to illustrate how this is usually done. So I don't have to tell you guys, we live in a completely transformed world, not just because of election results, but because things are just crazy right now, right? I mean, all of us looks to be, we've been in industry for a while. And if you look back on the last 15, 20 years you've been in industry, we could not have predicted where everything is at today, where we live in the transition to the digital age. New business models such as Uber and Airbnb is upending the entire world. And every industry has to think about what do they need to do to transform. Otherwise, they're definitely not going to be around in the next 10 or 15 years. So because of that, IT is now playing a more important role than ever. Before, we used to be the cost center. We used to be just needing to control how everything is locked down, security. It was more kind of the back end of the business, as opposed to today, IT is on the forefront of being the drivers for all these business change, digital transformation, because nothing can be done without everything that we do in IT. Data, of course, is the biggest thing that's changed in today's world. If we look back 10, 15, 20 years. We are so very excited about the fact that in just a few years, we're going to see the magnitude of data growth to be just, compared to what we saw before. I think in day 1's keynote, believe it was R. Scott Farron who said in 2020, there's going to be about 40 zettabytes of data in the world, which is a number that's astronomical, even just a couple of years ago. So a lot of this data is going to be machine data. Sure, there's human data, right? Because all of us are busy tweeting, we're doing Facebook things, so that's a lot of data. But none of that's going to compare to the machine data. It's going to swamp everything else. But all of this data need to come together and make sense for the business, provide insights, help them predict customer sentiment, help them do personalized one-on-one marketing. So how do you harness all of that? Clearly, some of the technology on the business end, such as SAP, the original SAP, which has been around for such a long time, is just not going to meet that need, which is why HANA was born out of this need to harness real-time data at an astronomical rate compared to people were expecting before. What we have today is data silos. There's different versions of SAP data. There's different relational database, Oracle data, and there is Hadoop, which is sort of a more emerging thing that because of its appeal of low-cost storage, people are looking towards. So how do you tie all of that together into a single backend is a really important question for data management teams inside any enterprise. We also see that traditional databases just don't work for non-traditional data, right? When it's not columns and rows and trying to analyze that, it's just the databases, they can't do it. They don't keep up. The performance is way too slow. And there's a lot of talk today about things like predictive analytics, machine learning. All of these things are not just futuristic technologies anymore. They're actually a must-have if a company wants to survive in the next few years. So to address all of these things, HP has been embarking on these things called transformation areas that Scott also referred to on his keynote on day 1. And one of the transformation areas about data is what we call empowering the data-driven organization. So I'm going to use the example of a customer to sort of set the scene here. So this is a European customer. It's a huge supermarket chain in Denmark. They have about overall 1,400 stores. They have different variety of stores, variety of discounts you have to keep track of, different customer loyalty programs. all of that stuff, of course, generates a lot of business information. So they've gotten to a point where their reporting just couldn't keep up with the growth of the new stores that they're opening and the amount of new customers they're getting to. So their financial departments were really, really struggling on being able to report on a timely basis, let alone trying to do predictions of, okay, this Christmas or next month, what's going to be a hot commodity that we should actually incentivize customers by putting, special discounts on. The second reason for why they needed to migrate their old business warehouse to SAP HANA is they want to be able to do affinity marketing, which is what actually Target does very successfully in the United States, right? Based on your purchase history. They send you proactive e-coupons, I guess, for things that they predict you might buy in the future. So this sort of thing has been proven to drive not just customer loyalty and satisfaction, but 20–30% growth for supermarket chains like Target. So this is something this particular customer in Denmark really wanted to also be able to start implementing, which they couldn't based on the old business warehouse. And then they understand that HANA is a must, right? If you're an SAP customer, in a few years, they're probably going to stop supporting older technologies, and you really have to move to HANA. So being on that path, thousands of SAP customers are being herded in that direction, which is, of course, of benefit to them. But how to get started on that journey when it's a relatively newer technology, when you don't have the in-house skill set that understands all of this, is still a challenge. So they went through and did an evaluation and said, okay, we know we have to do this. Who are the hardware vendors we want to partner with? And this is a criteria they looked at. They looked obviously at the total cost of ownership, which one for the long term is going to give me the most cost-effective solution. But not just that, they were also looking at financing because, as you guys all know, right, we're moving from a CapEx-centric to OpEx-centric world because that is much easier on your balance sheets, on your financial papers, and for the Wall Street to understand. So if your business grows, then your cost grows is something that's much easier to understand than say, I want to put down a $10 million investment up front and expect to be able to amortize that over 5 or 6 years. The second thing they looked at is, of course, the overall compelling strength of the solution, right? Is this really fast performing? What about reliability, scalability, security, all those things an enterprise customer cares about. And then they looked at how is this vendor? Is this vendor really, long-term very secure? Are they going to stay a leader in their market? And is it easy to do business with this vendor? Last but not least is support, because especially in this migration to a brand new technology, support services, consulting services is a very important component of that. Some people need more hand-holding, others less, but it's just always reassuring to know that the support, the consulting, all that expertise by working with SAP and SUSE is going to be there should you need it. So after going through the evaluation process, obviously we went in, we did our bid, we did the RFP process, and came up the highest in the total evaluation criteria. So this is the final architecture, simplified obviously, that they ended up going with, right? They put it across 2 different data centers, production and dev, separated, or actually rather production dev in their first data center and Q in a different data center. And there is going to be sort of recovery backup process that can be initiated between the 2 data centers. So looking at the status of this particular project, they have 110 plus terabytes of uncompressed data that's been migrated from their old business warehouse now to this new landscape. And they did the final migration. It was done in different phases, but the final migration only took them 4.5 days, which is shocking when you look at the amount of data that's involved and how important all of this data is to the business, right? Everything is critical. You can't drop a single piece of it. So they were ecstatic on how relatively easy, pain-free this process was. So that's just one example of what a very traditional business or retailer is going through. And this is something that's going to impact essentially every customer we see in every single industry and vertical. So now, this journey is very typical of what we see with our HANA customers, which is it's usually not a let's just get it done process. It usually takes anywhere between 12 months to about 2 years, and it usually starts out with sort of side by side, living with the existing SAP backend, but starting to put in HANA for some smaller real-time analytics projects as a sidecar. And then the next step is usually now broadening that to using HANA to become more of a data warehouse. Then beyond that, then you start to really implement things like BW on HANA and other financing and other applications for HANA directly from SAP, and then starting to do those predictive analytics that's promised by this technology. So it really is a journey, and every customer needs very different things. But one thing is consistent, which is HANA being a brand new technology really requires some hefty backend. Requires compute, requires storage. You want the scalability and the performance that can only be provided by sort of the newest generation of hardware. Staying on the older platforms just doesn't quite cut it for the kind of compute and intensive storage needs for SAP HANA. Another thing that they really want is that expertise. We keep going back to it because it is a journey. As I was talking to a customer, a CIO from New Zealand a while back, he keeps saying, you know, these technology transformations are a journey. I mean, that's what all the vendors say, but to me, it feels more like a leap off of a cliff. And when I do that, I need somebody who can actually make sure I land safely and catch me should there be any problems. And that's one of the biggest reasons we went with a company like HPE. So our solution, which happens to be the #1 solution for SAP HANA, is our Converged System for HANA. It's got 3 key capabilities, right? It's fast, it's efficient, it's simple. The simple part is a really good reason for customers to go with Converged System for HANA because it is an appliance. It comes pre-installed with all of your SAP hardware. It comes pre-installed with SUSE Linux, SLES for HANA, which is obviously the #1 operating system for HANA. And together, it just makes it really easy. You literally roll this thing in, you can get it deployed in sometimes as little as 2, 3, 4 days. For such a complex technology, you don't have to worry about anything. It's got its own storage built in, all the switching's in there. You just roll it in. You can see this at our show floor with our interactive demo. You know exactly sort of what this looks like. So it's, like I said, end-to-end, the combination of HP's hardware and SUSE software and SAP software, right? We are a perfect 3-way triangle. The 3 R&D teams work together from day one, way back in the beginning. So we optimize and test everything and make sure it's fully integrated, and we squeeze every ounce of performance out of the hardware. So we can guarantee to you on the market, dollar for dollar, it is the most optimized, best performing, and really gives you best TCO for all of this. And it scales up much higher than any of our competitors could. I can show you a little bit later. I think there's a graph that shows you exactly where. So I think we already talked to a lot of this in terms of the hardware as well as the services. But another thing we do is we give you HANA whichever form factor you want it. I talked a lot about the appliance because that is our #1 selling. We have thousands of customers deploy on it, but you don't have to go that route. If you're not comfortable for appliance for any reason at all, if you want to go TDI, we do that. If you want to go to the cloud, whether it's HEC or HPE's own cloud, we do that. It's just, whatever you want. We give you the different pieces individually should you want it, or we give you this total package as an appliance as being the easiest option. But we fully understand customers' needs are different, and we optimize and accommodate for all of it. So should you want to go to the appliance option, we have 2 different varieties. We have the 500, which is kind of the entry level. It is the lowest price point version, but it also has the capability of scaling up to quite a bit, actually, to 68 terabyte scaled systems. And the best thing about, again, the converged systems is the fast install and the simple deployment, the fact it's all pre-tested. The 900 is the scale-up version. So this is the one that gives you absolutely the top-level performance and has the biggest. We are the only vendor that can ship a 16-socket single node HANA system that accommodates up to 12 terabytes. So we've done all kinds of performance benchmarking. Nobody can do it better than we can. On the service side, meaning rather on the as a service side, like I said earlier, we can put it in HEC, we can put it on our own cloud. We give you different service options. You can have a fast start that does, deployment, install, training, all of that in a very simple, easy package. We can manage it for you on an ongoing basis if that's what you want, because a lot of people do have a skills gap when it comes to HANA. We can manage the applications on top of HANA, whether it's BW, Business Suite, SAP S4, any and all of the above. You have, yes, question?
Right, so HPE Helium, when you're talking about, are you talking about the public cloud of HPE Helium or the
So as you may or may not know, as of last December, HPE actually exited the public cloud business.
Yes.
So our Helion is the ES managed private cloud for customers. So it's
Okay, so you're saying on an HPE Helium solution, it's hosted in the customer premise.
it could be on the customer's premise or in one of our data centers, but yes.
One of your data centers. So if customer is running or you are running SAP HANA over there, with SUSE Linux that will be supported. But
Yes.
if I'm not wrong, HPE Helium is based upon the OpenStack, which is based upon the Debian-based KVM.
Yes.
So how SUSE Linux is supported on that? Is it supported, not supported? So
It's supported. It's supported. We basically believe in customer choice, right? We offer customers option. I mean, there is no such thing as a default, but obviously for HANA, everybody knows SLES is the tried and tested option. So most customers go in that direction. Okay?
but do we have any documents or any papers for that?
That I have to get back to you. So send me an email. My email is pretty simple. My name is Helen Tang, and my email is helent@hpe. So just follow up with me, and I'll get you. I'll ask the right person, figure out what documentation we have on it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. You can run in different mixture of architectures, right? You can have your single database, single instance, or you can have mixed workloads, different applications on the same systems. We accommodate, like I said, very flexible options, any and all. We have also other services that are essentially value-add services on top of it, right? You can sell them Service Guard, which gives them an increased availability, backup, recovery, replication. That's just something that a lot of our very high-end enterprise customers really want, that confidence, right? It's like insurance. You hope you don't need it, but when you do need it, you want it to be there in place. The consulting that we have around this migration is tried and proven. So we've been working with close to at least 1,000 customers on this migration journey. And it starts with a workshop where we understand what's our current situation, what are the constraints, what is our desired state. And after that workshop, we come up with basically a document that outlines, this is the path we think you guys should take. This is your 60, 90, 120-day plan. This is where we can help you. These are additional services should you want them. We create a full business case, because selling this huge migration project, which is major cost associated with it, is a big exercise for IT to sell back to the business. So we have experts that's done this for hundreds of other customers. We can help you create that business case, talk about the different viability factors, and what's unique and specific in your situation. Then we help with design implementation. So you don't have to buy all of the services. Like I said, if you feel very confident in leading each of or any of these steps above, you can do it. You don't have to buy services, but these services being there with people who are very expert at taking hundreds of customers through these processes has proven to be very, very helpful for most of our customers. So there's a 2-day workshop, as I talked about, in terms of the advise and strategy piece. On the deploy side, we do the integration, we do the backend validation, testing, just making that whole process happen. And then the migration is what you guys saw walking through that Danish supermarket example, where they were able to accomplish the final migration, that final jump in, like I said, 4.5 days. So that's kind of typical. One thing that's really unique for HPE is we do this single throat to choke support. So because we sell everything to you, right, we're the one access point for you. So the customers can call up our Center of Excellence for SAP HANA and say, I need help. Doesn't matter if there's a problem with the hardware, the SLES software, or the SAP HANA software, it's just a single place. You don't have to have vendors going back and forth on conference calls and figure out who dropped the ball, which piece is wrong. Doesn't matter. These people work with Germany 100% of the time. They sometimes are deeply embedded in the R&D centers, both for SUSE as well as for SAP. So they have all this expertise they need to resolve whatever issue should you run into. So that is very unique in the industry, and it's very helpful when you have such a complex, sort of forklift upgrade. We have another service that's proactive, which is we have these phone home kind of capabilities in our servers that detects key performance indicators that say, uh-oh, you're about to run into this problem. Now we can actually proactively rectify the issue before it ever hits the actual performance of your SAP applications. So there's different types of, patching, install, health check, a lot of proactive services. And the flex capacity is something we don't talk about enough. It's almost like HP's secret weapon. Basically, we turn SAP consumption to something as easy as consuming it in the public cloud. You can pay as you go. It's based on your usage, based on the amount you need, so you don't have to, again, write a upfront $5–10 million check. As you need to grow, as you start on this migration path that I outlined earlier, you can very easily predict the amount of financial outlay that's required. And this consumption, agility, or flex capacity service wraps in all the different things you need for this. So just the hardware, the software, and the services. So you can essentially wrap that into one kind of subscription plan, and you can know you just have to pay this amount every month, and then if you need to go up in capacity, it's very easy to up it at any time. Yes?
So for HPE flexible capacity, this is again with one HPE cloud, right?
No.
So when you say pay as you go, it could be on one of your cloud platforms.
It could. It could be in TDI, it could be on appliances. We give you a very flexible way of essentially financing it. Doesn't matter how you consume it. Okay? So, end of the day, right? Why do people go through all this? Is unprecedented speed in your analytics platform. Simplify your overall backend SAP environment. So you're no longer in those silos. You now have a single modern platform that ties everything together. And of course, super efficiency that has the world's #1 performance reliability. So that Danish supermarket is just one of the examples. As I was saying earlier, we probably helped near 1,000 customers by this point on this SAP HANA migration journey. And they choose us because of our leadership that's recognized by Gartner, by any analyst firm can go out there. And because the ecosystem approach that we have by working with SUSE, working with our SI partners, working with reseller partners to make sure every customer has a consistent and easy and painless experience when they go down this journey. So as you can see, we've shipped over 6,000 converged systems for SAP HANA. That's really #1 in the market. We have over 1,200 of our customers that now run SAP HANA on HPE, and vast majority of those customers are also on SUSE / for HANA. And HPE is sort of one of the only hardware vendors that is really doubling down, investing in the future. We have this vision called the machine, which basically is about, as you guys know, the Moore's law is hitting sort of a brick wall. It's not going to give you that kind of performance improvements every 18 months anymore, because you can only go down so much in the physical world. The machine is a totally different architecture that HPE is inventing that unifies storage on something we call memristors, uses photonics for the interconnect, for the networking piece, and putting all of that together into a brand new architecture. It's going to give you 1,000 times improvement on performance, something that Moore's law is just not going to be able to give you anymore in easily 3, 4, 5 years. So watch for that kind of innovation as we continue to invest in R&D for hardware. So in a very much software-defined world, HP is here to prove that hardware actually is still very relevant, but only with the help of our ecosystem partners like SUSE. So this is that chart I was promising earlier, where you can see that all of the other competition kind of stop at the 8 socket. We're the only ones that go up beyond that, up to 24 terabytes, so you can have these super systems that for the largest customers with the largest ambitions, if you will, for SAP HANA, we're the only ones that can accommodate all of that. We've worked with SUSE for over 25 years. As Scott said on day one, we've been partners before, you know, at the very beginning when you guys are just starting out as a Linux company. We know that SLES for HANA is obviously the #1 platform. It's our preferred Linux. So we work very closely on ensuring that your latest innovations are fully tested on hardware. It's optimized on both ends. So that really concludes this presentation. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you. Like I said, this is a family and friends session, so thanks for coming.